Well, greetings, fellow citizens of the internet. It's been a few minutes since I have been out here in my abode. And I'm not going to be out here super long today. It's pretty muggy out here. But as you can tell, I'm walking through what would have been my wife's car. It's not in here right now. Home improvement work. That door is going into my house, which I am very... because I'm going to need that door because we got some furniture and stuff. But I'm going to sneak in here and go to yet another project of mine.
This is fine.
So what we have here is an NVIDIA Quadro card, which I don't know if it works or not. I have a few other... Oh no. Those bearings, that probably doesn't work. And a Asus motherboard with an unknown AMD possible chip in it. At least to me, that looks like AMD. That came from his computer cave. And this was also free. It has 8 gigabytes of PC3. So it's slightly newer. It's an Asus motherboard with SATA. So it's actually a somewhat competent motherboard. He also gave me a slot loading AMD Athlon, which so I should be able to power test this motherboard, but I don't have a graphics card. And this motherboard doesn't have a graphics port, so I gotta wait on this one. So is a Dell PowerEdge server, and you know what? It actually works. You can, as a result of jerry-rigging it, now it's taking up space. So I'm at least going to unjerry-rig it because I really don't need this machine in my way right now, because I got a new machine that I may or may not need parts for. That is going to be going into a new case. So this case here that you can't see because this monitor and such is in the way was my old PC case. Garbage. It's going straight into the garbage. But I have a new friend that is going to be referred to properly. And I first have to figure out a way to do this and not short this board out, because you can't run them straight on metal. I ain't figured that out yet. I will figure that out. I've got this tall box here. Is that... well, yeah, that's big enough. So what we have here, as I acquire myself some amount of tooling, I am going to have to go find a screwdriver. Well, I got an A flat blade, A Phillips, maybe that's good enough, and a DVI to VGA. Let's assume that's all I need. Now, this PowerEdge server is what I would call not exactly super useful. I'm not sure what to do with it, but we will do a video on doing your own home server. Probably not exactly the best video in the world, but we'll do a video on it because we should. The other fun toy, I have a VGA KVM switch and an Inspiron laptop that should look somewhat familiar to myself. It is a 640M. I have one of these that I hot rodded with a Core 2 Duo. This is the Pentium version. I just want to know if it works. I don't necessarily care about anything else, but this is really just a parts machine. So we're going to test those today, and we're going to see how it goes. Now, for starters, I'm just going to plug the Dell into the wall right now. Uh-oh. You going for a ride. Into my wall plug here. And, oh my gosh. This guy claims he's a professional. This man that claims he's a professional here, who keeps dropping shit. But I kind of just want to know if this computer works. So I'm going to plug it in for a few minutes. I'm going to turn it on. And we've got warning lights. Oh. Date and time not found. Okay, well, let's go ahead and press F1 to continue. Ooh. So he did leave some stuff on here. We're going to Linux Mint 19, eh? So it looks like brother might have left something on here. We'll make sure we get that erased. We've got a MXC061 2007 BIOS. Looks like a Pentium dual core. And 4 gigabytes of RAM, pretty typical. Ah, yes, the legendary Intel 945 GM graphics. So not bad. Not bad at all. Nothing crazy in here. I'm going to post this down. I am going to head and go grab some USB drives. I need a USB drive to boot the system over here anyway to see what the hardware's on, and I'll be back. Got flash drives. So yeah, I got my flash drive bag out here. I'm not going to go too crazy, but I know for a fact that should be LMDE, and that would be more than enough. Also got that one as a Linux Mint drive. So there's that for you. Let's just go ahead and looks like she's taking a charge, which is good. And yeah, those GMA graphics are pretty typical of these machines. It's kind of one of the reasons why I don't typically deal in the Pentium and Core 2 generation is integrated graphics around this time, unless you had ATI or something, was pretty much terrible. So it's kind of what you deal with. This machine isn't really intended for anything but parts, but I thought I would plug it in, let it charge, maybe boot off of my LMDE USB here. Just make sure the system's generally working. I will go ahead. Ah, yeah, the legendary. This kernel requires an x86-64 CPU, but you only have i6-86. What we have here is actually a very interesting machine. It is a 32-bit Pentium Duo, which actually leads me to some very fun things that we can do.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
That would require my Ventoy. So I'm actually going to use this for more than parts. This is going to be in a video. Because I have not actually tested the viability of using 32-bit computing in 2024. Now, why would somebody want to do this? Well, you run into machines like this, which are clearly fully functional and could still serve a purpose to somebody. And, rather than upgrade the machine, why don't run a 32-bit distro? And while LMDE 6 is 64-bit, guess what? They have a 32-bit version because Debian still supports 32-bit. So I'm actually going to save this machine take it in with me and do a factory install of LMDE 32-bit, from there, we will turn into what 32-bit apps work, what doesn't, what workarounds do I have for a lot of apps that just ain't going to work, and how usable this machine is. I have one that's a 64-bit that I upgraded from the Pentium Duo that's in this thing to a much newer one. That explains why it was Windows 7 with a Linux Mint 19 dual boot, given around the time frame that my brother was into this stuff. Yeah, makes sense. 32-bit distro, 32-bit operating system. Linux Mint 19 was the last Ubuntu-based to have the 32-bit. So, you know, for right now, we're just going to go ahead and we'll leave this thing to charge. It's not going to cause a fire or anything, so. And now we got to play with this one. So here's the fun part. I need a power supply for this desktop. And that's going to be difficult because I don't have a lot of spare power supplies. Now, I could pull one of these up here, which is probably what I'm going to do. And actually, I have the perfect specimen here of it's rusting, but it probably works. And several of those optiplexes. So there is the there's my 26 pin.
Stop it. Get some help.
There we go, fully seated. And I need a 4-pin here for the CPU. And that should be it. Now, this motherboard does not have onboard graphics. So we are still at the mercy of a GPU. Now, I don't know if this Quadro works or not. So we're going to do a double test. And we're just going to find out, because that's what you do. When you fuck around, you find out. Going to stick a DVI to VGA off the back end. Bring this ViewSonic into view. As one does. We're going to have a monitor, which thankfully this board supports PS2, because that's what my test keyboard is right now. I won't have a thing. One of these power cords can just be used for that. This VGA can be used here. Now, obviously, I need a better solution than this for the power supply here. But I am just going to box run this thing. It doesn't have... It's supposed to be 400 watts. And in theory, it is safe. It's been in my garage for a few years, so take that for what you will. We will find out if this thing is spicy or not. Okay, so I got to unplug the Dell laptop and plug my monitor back in. So here you go. Here's the setup. Let us there is no fire. Nothing is burning. Okay. So a trick I was taught by my brother back in the day is if you don't have a power switch, which this one might not. So down here, all a power switch is shorting 2 pins. Oh, I know why. I'm dumb. Keywords there. I am dumb. So we're going to plug that in. Move that. And we're going to move this over because we've got to have power. So now we have a green light. Which means we have power. Which means you touch those pins, yeah, those bearings are gone. Maybe it'll at least be good enough to post. Come on, baby. Tell me we won the lottery. I have a DRAM LED. Oh, we settled in. There's no fire. HCI BIOS. IDE controller, checking AV RAM. We have LMDE. Nice. So it sounds like a majority of the issues is with this Quadro. The bearings, it appears to be completely killed. It's an FX580. I don't even know if it's worth saving. I don't have a mouse out here, unfortunately. I do have a stockpile of GPUs, so I think we're okay. They're all really old GPUs, but this machine's not probably going to run Linux. If it does, it will be an offline system because its goal is going to be to play Windows XP games. That's all it's going to do in life. Well, this is awesome. This is further than I thought this machine would get. Yeah, there's no smoke or anything. I've got a fucking cursor. I got a desktop. This is an Athlon 2 system. Look at that. 8 gigs of memory. So that's actually a really good motherboard. This would actually probably be more in line with like a Windows 7 style build. But hey, it's actually, in all reality, that's actually pretty decent. That's a lot better than I thought was going to be. Yeah, this thing works. Honestly. So my actual plans for this system. Let me go ahead and go. Let's turn off this monstrosity real quick. Because I'm not into testing things too long. That is awesome. So I need a case for this, obviously, and this GPU is not going to cut it. In fact, based upon those noises, sounds like the girl needs a bit of TLC. So I could take this apart, loop the bearings, and use it, but it's not really in line with what I want to do with this. So this is just going to go on the shelf as a working GPU, but it needs some bearings. So I have some thoughts. One of those thoughts for a vintage correct PC is I could, with a friend of mine, reflow this GTX 560. This thing is in terrible condition. It barely shows any form of life. And obviously this power supply doesn't have even near the connectors to power something like this, but it's an EVGA GPU. It's basically dead. It will show a picture, but only sometimes. It's in really bad shape, and I've only kept it because I had hope that I would be able to reflow this graphics card or maybe heat gun it to maybe get a little bit more life out of it, but it came in a batch of GPUs, the other two of which you're about to see. Because I have a pair of PNY graphics cards that I would love to stick in a motherboard like this. At the very least, one of them. These are PNY 8800 GTX graphics cards that have, you find it, an SLI bridge. And I have SLI'd them before. They are 768 megs. And I think would look freaking awesome sat on this motherboard. Just like so. Now, the more realistic thing is that you're only going to get one of these. Realistically. And I would downgrade the memory to have multiple low gigabyte sticks to be able to use these cards, which is nice. But that is an option. The last option, as I pull these dudes away, is I do have an HD 5450. I have very correct period 8500 GT, which even has an appropriate AGP. Now, I don't think this board supports AGP, so this might be a card for another system, which is what it's looking like, which I did not realize this was AGP. But this is very area appropriate. In fact, it would fit my 98 PC, which I have several other cards in here that might fit that bill, from Radeon cards to ATI Fire GL cards that, you know what, would probably work pretty dang well. And that's what I want to do, is actually build a system around this. So I think it would be cool. Go ahead and pull that, because nothing else I do out here is going to require a USB drive. So that's all cool. I did not expect to get this far today. It does look like it is worth me investing in this motherboard. I'm going to go ahead and set this Fire GL back in here. That's probably what I'll go with. It has XP driver support. Should be pretty good. Make sure that I am need to be in the off position. And so now that I know this board is good, I can set it aside to actually go buy a case for it. So the last board we're testing today is this unknown AMD Athlon processor board. It's a slot socket board. I was told this works by a man. By the same man that gave it to me. Who actually the fuck knows? Okay, so I need to slide that off. It doesn't take all 26 pins. Okay. Is there any other form of power? It looks like I need memory. Based upon the age, I don't think I have any of that. So we might just be seeing if there is signs of life. Yeah, because I don't have RAM out here because it's volatile. So we're not even going to plug a graphics card or anything in. This is a really old motherboard, so I don't have high hopes, but I mean, we'll see. There's IDE headers. See, this thing would be more in line with a retro build that we might be able to get away with. So here goes nothing. So this is one I don't actually know where the header on the motherboard is. I'm assuming it's yeah. Oh. Oh. So it's not going to post, but I need RAM. Because there's going to be no memory present. Cool. So everything largely works then. Go ahead and turn that off. While I clean up here, that actually worked out better than I expected it to. I expected there to be fire, not going to lie. And it looks like all three systems are worth saving. So one of them might even be channel material. So for the immediate future, I'm just going to stick this PSU back up in its home. This Quadro card does work, it's just pretty ratty. Not really anything I would want to redeploy, but if I could get it working, yeah, sure, why not? And yeah, that's pretty successful. I'm going to go ahead and stick this back here. Unplug this laptop. Part of my job out here is going to be to re-clean this place up again. But hey, you know what? I call this all success. And this is the kind of stuff that we're into. People just want to get rid of things sometimes. And so when you have old e-waste like this, it's not worth it for everybody to recycle this. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, y'all need to use this machine or use that machine or whatnot. No, you don't. Obviously, this hardware is pretty old, and I'm only toying around with it because I'm curious on how effective 32-bit computing is ever since 32-bit started getting deprecated by literally everybody. As far as the Athlon system goes, that's probably a lot more usable in a modern sense than you think. With 8 gigs of RAM, I had one of these with a somewhat, I think it was a GTS 450. I ran Windows 7 on it, back when Windows 7 still got support. I just ran old games on it. It just happened to also be able to be connected to the internet at the time. Obviously anymore, I don't do that. But, you know, that being said, largely successful. I should have some pictures or footage of the server working. It's a dual-core Xeon server. And it does work, which is actually kind of cool. So I'm excited. I've got some projects out here now that I get to work on. And it's good stuff. So yeah, if you like the video, I know this is kind of a weirder one for me. I like working on some of this old stuff when I have time. I just don't always have time. And yeah, if you like the video, go ahead and like the video. You know, tell me in the comments down below what what kind of old junk do you guys have rolling around? What do you do with it other than just move it out of the way? I'd be genuinely curious. I know there's a few people in some of the Discords I troll around in that genuinely do have 32-bit systems. I know one particular gentleman has 32-bit LMDE running on a laptop. He uses the laptop. And I think that's cool. You know, I think some of these older computers that just get thrown to the wayside, if you can find a use for them, great. You could turn a laptop into a server. It just happens to have a monitor attached. So there's all kinds of cool stuff. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all have a good day.